Off. Okay, look up here. All right, so I'm going back from the first video just before we mirrored our side object to the other side because we need to make that little correction there as we discussed yesterday. So I'm just going to extrude this object. Okay, so E. Do you remember which direction I extrude this in? Yeah, we're going to go out this way, and we're going to go the thickness of the wood, which we're setting as a parameter called T. Okay? All right, and I can kind of get rid of that sketch now. I don't want to see that. Okay, next, we're going to mirror this to the other side. Let's go to construct offset plane. We need a middle plane and then mirror across that plane. So we're going to go to offset plane, construct offset plane, except this time I'm going to choose the inside. Okay, I'm going to choose the inside. Last time the mistake was that I chose the outside. Okay, so let's choose the inside. Why did I choose the inside? Because that's where I created my sketch. My sketch is on the inside here. So that sketch has to be mirrored on the other side. See, in the first video, because I chose the outside, that's not where my sketch was. So that's where we were getting our mistake. Our sketch is here on the inside. That's where you need to choose. So we're going to offset that. I don't know, let's go 7.5. Okay, I always like to go back to my home view there. And then we're going to go to create, mirror. I want this body, and then I want this mirror plane. So I click on this button, and I go that mirror plane. And I do want to create a new body right now, so I click OK. I don't need to see this mirror plane anymore, so I can hide it right there under the construction folder. Okay, I don't need to see that anymore. Okay, let's go ahead now and pick up where we left off and create the horizontal connecting piece there, okay? So yesterday we discussed about where to create this plane because we're going to create a sketch along this angled plane here. And the way you know where to create the new plane is you got to look at, if I go back into this sketch, which lines are green, right? I got to look at the lines that are green. That's the lines that I fixed. That means that's where I want my plane to be, where these lines are fixed. Okay, that's where I want my plane to be. All right, so let's go back to finish sketch. And let's create a new sketch. And let's create it right there. Okay? So right along that bottom surface there, okay? Now, it's going to take me to kind of to obviously my plane view, but I'm going to switch back to my home view for a sec because what I want to do now is project geometry from these bodies. I want different lines from these bodies to go onto my sketch so I know where my holes are and where my tabs need to be. Okay, so I'm going to hit P on my keyboard for project, and I'm going to select the outer edges of my hole. So I'm going to select this line here. Oh, switch to, make sure you're on specified entities. I want to select this line here so I know where my hole is. And I want to select this one on the other side. Okay. And then I also want to do it to here. Actually, here. There. And orbit around. Careful not to choose, because I've made this mistake before. Look, careful not to choose this line, right? Because if you choose this line, your tab is going to be too small. You want to go right to the outer edges right there. That's the line you want to pick, and you press OK. All right? Now, I'm all thrown off in terms of where my plane is. So a little trick around that is like go to Finish Sketch, and then go back and Edit Sketch. And it'll take you back to the view that you're looking for. Okay? And I'm going to hide my bodies. I actually don't need my bodies anymore. And you can see I have projected those lines onto my sketch. Now I know where the holes are. Now remember, those holes, however, those holes are how big? Or we made them decimal 0.15 bigger, right? So the first thing I want you to do, okay, so we don't want to go right to the edge here. We don't want the tab to fit in tight like that. We actually want the tab to be slightly smaller. And we want it to be decimal 0.15 smaller, okay? Now, remember, we got to divide that number by 2 because it's half on that side, half on that side for a total of decimal 0.15. You understand? Okay? So, we can offset these lines down. So if I choose the offset tool and I select this line, I can offset a line lower than that. And you can see it's a negative value if I go down. So it's going to be negative decimal 0.075. That's half of decimal 0.15. Okay, you're going to use this exact same number. Okay, and you can see like it's almost barely noticeable unless you zoom right in. You see that? But it is there. I can now delete this projected line. I don't need that projected line anymore, right? There's no reason for it to be there. Let's get rid of it. Let's go down and project this line as well, or offset this line up. And now you can see it's a positive value, so I'm going to type in decimal 0.075, so it goes up. And zoom in, and I can now remove that line right there. There you go. Let's do the same thing on the other side. I know in yesterday's video I never did the other side, but let's do it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly offset this. Offset. This as well. And delete our projected lines. Make sure you delete the right line. It's the one. Okay. There you go. We now have, and again, at any time I can go back to fit. Okay, and that takes me back to seeing everything on my screen pretty quickly. Okay, and I'm going to actually just move this over. I don't need that right now. Okay, let's go ahead now and draw kind of our shape here. So I'm going to go up. You're going to know your dimensions. These are going to be your numbers. I can go up maybe 1.5 inches this way. Okay, but obviously your numbers here will be totally different. And then I'll connect this way and I'll line it up with this point right there. Right there. Come down. Okay, and I can close this now. Then I'll go down 1.5 this way as well. And I will connect this line across this side. Again, use inferencing, line it up with this circle there, and right there, right there should snap into place. And once you close your shape, it should go light blue like that. That's how you know you've closed your shape. Okay? All right. Now the only thing we got to do is we've got to put in our little notches and then dimension things and then just fix whatever lines we think we need to fix. And then we're done. Okay, so let's put in our notches quick. So Jordan, take a look up here because this is how you do the notches. Okay? So you want to pick a 2-point circle, okay, right there. Pick a 2-point circle, start it right there, go up. Remember, we called the diameter D. We made a parameter for it. So if you follow along in the videos, you should have the parameter for it already. Hit enter twice. Okay, right click, say repeat 2-point circle, and do it again on this side. And now let's trim any geometry we don't need. So I hit T on my keyboard, trim, 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 trim. And now you can see I have a little notch there that opens up that corner for me so I could fit a square piece in there and that rounded bit won't won't be a factor. Okay, we sacrifice a little on aesthetics. Obviously, you're going to see this notch, but it's necessary if we want a tight fit. Okay, and we don't want to do too much sanding. Next, let's dimension how big from here to here needs to be. So hit D on your keyboard. Let's dimension from this line to this line. Okay, it says 0.5, but we don't want to leave it as 0.5. What do we want that thickness to be there? Because that's going to change depending on what? The thickness of the material, right? So we just actually want to call that T. Oh, sorry. Dimension. Call that T. Okay? It's still 0.5, but at least now we have the ability to change it. Now, the last thing we want to do on this side is we want to choose which lines to fix. Now, imagine. Look here. Look. Remember that this size here will be changeable, essentially. And we want it to grow outwards. Like, let's say we want to use 3/4 inch material. We want it to grow outwards. We want this line to come out, and we don't want anything else to move. So if I want this line to come out, and I don't want anything else to move, what should I fix?
The outside.
Yeah, this line. Also, this notch, we want it to stay still. This notch, we want it to stay still. And that line right there. So now the only thing that's going to grow is this rectangle is going to come out this way. It's going to come out that way. All right? So let's right-click on those lines we selected and click on Fix. And you can see they turn green. And then I always do a test. Look up here. I always do a test. Okay, let's see. If I go to Modify, Change Parameters, and what if I did change this to 0.75, right? Let's see what happens. Okay, look. That looks pretty good. And I'll hit OK. Right? You can see that got bigger. Now watch when I hit Undo. See that? See? That's what we wanted. So it's good that we fixed those lines. Last thing. Let's just do it on this side, and it's all going to be repeated, so I don't need to say it over again. So I'll just do it. Shh. Trim. Okay. Dimension from here to there. We're going to call that T. And we're going to fix that. Hey, can you come back in like 2 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, there you go. So we are good to go. If I now hit Finish Sketch, okay, let's bring our bodies back in so we can see our bodies there. Let's go to our home view. You can see everything looks good there. I think we should be good to go this time. Let's extrude, hit E on your keyboard, and let's pick this. Now remember, do you remember I told you yesterday, it's really weird. Pay close attention to this. See, this tab got picked up on, and for whatever reason, it leaves a gap there. So just also click on that rectangle, so it also chooses that as well to extrude. Okay, and then we are going to pull that down. How much do we pull that down? T, thickness of the wood, right? So T. And be careful here. You do not want the operation to be join. We don't want to join these pieces. We want to create a new body, okay? That should be a new body. So sometimes by default it'll go to join. We don't want that. Keep an eye out for that.
Why not new component?
We'll change, great question. We'll change to a component. I like to change them at the end. I'll show you, okay? Watch. So I'm just going to press OK. Now let's just make sure everything is okay. I like to do a test. Okay, let's hope this time it worked. So I like to do an interference test. So I'm going to select all the bodies. Okay, and I'm going to go to Inspect Interference, Compute. No interference detected. That means that there's no geometry that is going into or interfering with other geometry. But the real question becomes, when I change the parameter, so I go to modify change parameter, that's where you know if you did it right or not. Okay, if I change that to 0.75 now, fingers crossed, and we select everything, and we run that interference check again, come on, okay, so no interference. That means that my whole model updated, nothing went into each other, everything is good, okay? So let's cancel that, let's undo. I'm gonna keep that at a 1/2 inch thickness, okay? And I think I'm going to stop this video here, okay? We've made the necessary correction. I now have showed you how to create a hole and have a tab fit into the hole. In tomorrow's lesson, I'll show you how to create that little tiny piece in there, okay? And that'll be it.